It's Amy, your Gray Girlfriend, and welcome to the Gray Girlfriend's Guide to Life podcast. First, let me say that I'm so happy and grateful that you're here with me. Out of the more than 3 million podcasts available, you chose this one, so thank you. This podcast was created for high-achieving women, real women who face and conquer real challenges, real women who are ready to take their lives to the next level. Between us all, we've been through it all, and I'm here to tell you, you can thrive despite it. So whether you're commuting to or from work or doing one of the other 50,000 things you do on a weekly basis, pop in your earbuds, my friend, and let's go. Today's episode is Two Peas in a Pod. Have you ever noticed how two people can look at the same situation and come away with two totally different takes? Maybe you've seen someone call a glass half full while another insists it's half empty. Perhaps you've been in a meeting where feedback lands as tough love for one person and a total ego bruise for another. So what's going on here? How does this happen? Well, it comes down to two big ideas, two important P's, perception and perspective. Let's talk about what these words really mean and how understanding them can help us make better, kinder, and smarter decisions every day, starting today. So what is perception anyway? Perception is your brain's first impression of the world around you. It's what happens when your senses take in information, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, and the touches that make up your daily life. When you glance at a glass of clear liquid on the table, your eyes send signals to your brain and bam, you perceive a glass of water. But here's the thing. Perception isn't just about the raw data. It's also shaped by your past experiences and your mood and even your expectations. That's why two people can look at the same painting and see something totally different. Or why a simple comment from a friend can feel like a warm hug or a cold shoulder, depending on your mood. Here are quick 3 takeaways about perception. It's fast, it's personal, and it can change. So what do I mean by that? Well, by saying it's fast, I mean that perception is your brain's immediate, almost automatic reaction to what's happening. When I say it's personal, it means that your unique background and mindset color how you perceive things. And when I say it can change, I mean your perception can shift depending on your mood or stress level or even the time of day. So what's perspective? If perception is the what, perspective is the how. Perspective is the bigger lens through which you look at life. It's made up of your beliefs and your values and your upbringing and all of the experiences that have shaped who you are. Think about it like wearing a pair of glasses. The glasses themselves are your perspective. They filter and frame everything you see. Two people might look at the same glass of water, which is perception, but their perspective can either be optimistic or pessimistic or hopeful or skeptical, but that determines whether they see it as half full or half empty. Here are quick takeaways about perspective. It's broad, it's shaped by experience, and it guides your choices. What do I mean by that? When I say it's broad, I mean perspective is about your overall look on life. When I say it's shaped by experience, what I mean is your upbringing, your culture, and your life lessons all contribute to your perspective. When I say it guides your choices, what I mean is your perspective influences what you value, how you solve problems, and the decisions you make. So how do perception and perspective work together? How do these two P's work together in the pod of your mind? Think of perception and perspective as best friends. They're always hanging out with each other and they're always influencing each other. And here's how they team up. Perception feeds perspective. The way you interpret new experiences adds to your overall perspective over time. Perception shapes your perspective. Your existing beliefs and attitudes color how you perceive new information. For example, if you're generally optimistic, you're more likely to see the silver lining in tough situations. Conversely, if you're a little black cloud, you're more likely to rain on your own parade. You're more likely to look at what's wrong even in good situations. It's also a two-way street. Your perceptions and your perspectives are always in conversation. They're always chatting with each other, shaping and reshaping each other as you go through life. So how do they affect the choices we make? Well, let's talk about that and why it matters. Both perception and perspective play a huge role in how we make decisions, large and small. The perception is the starting point. It's where every decision begins. It's how you take in and interpret the information around you. For example, if you perceive a coworker's feedback as helpful, you'll probably feel motivated to improve. But if you perceive it as being harsh, you might get defensive or discouraged. Perception shapes decisions in three ways. Number one, it filters information. You unconsciously screen and interpret data based on your perceptions. Number two, it can be biased. Your past experiences and emotions can color your perceptions, sometimes leading to snap judgments. Number three, it drives quick reactions. In the heat of the moment, your perceptions can often guide your immediate response. So while perception is your starting point, perspective is the big picture. Perspective is what helps you step back and see the larger picture. It's that voice in your head that says, hey, wait a minute, let's look at this from a different angle. When you take a broader view, you're more likely to make more thoughtful and more balanced decisions. As with perception, perspective shapes decisions in three ways. Number one, it broadens your understanding. Perspective helps you see beyond your immediate feelings and consider the impact of your choices. Number two, it reduces bias. Considering different viewpoints helps you recognize your own blind spots and thus helps you make fairer decisions. Number three, it fosters empathy. When you try to see things from another person's perspective, you're more likely to make decisions that benefit everyone. So here's a real life example. Imagine you get some tough feedback at work. At first, you might get your feelings hurt or you become defensive. That's your perception kicking in. And assuming your boss isn't a big butthole to start with, if you can step back and consider your manager's perspective, maybe they're trying to help you grow. And if that's the case, you might see the feedback as an opportunity instead of a setback. This shift from perception to perspective can totally change how you feel and what you do next. So what does science say about all of this? Psychologists have spent a lot of time studying how we make decisions, and here are a couple of cool insights. First, there's this dual process theory. Our brains have two ways of making decisions. Think of it as two systems that work together. System one is fast, it's automatic, and it's intuitive. This is where perception lives, quick reactions and gut feelings. System two is slow and thoughtful and analytical. This is where perspective comes in, taking the time to consider different angles and consequences. There's also cognitive biases. This is how we can trip ourselves up. We all have these little mental shortcuts called biases that can trip us up. For example, confirmation bias makes us pay more attention to information that fits what we already believe to be true, where perspective helps us spot these biases and make more balanced choices. For example, I admit that I have bias when it comes to organized religion. My bias isn't as great as it once was, but I admit I'm still biased. My bias is based on my experience that was tied to organized religion. I grew up in a rigid, religious, dysfunctionless hell household. And because the worst people in my life wrapped themselves in cloaks of what they believed was biblical-backed self-righteousness, as soon as I was on my own, I rarely darkened the door of a church. The times I attempted to give it another try, I found myself looking around the sanctuary, thoroughly disgusted, knowing the man collecting the offering was cheating on his wife with her best friend. And I knew this because I had caught them in the act. Yet there he was, and there she was, sitting with his wife, her best friend. Other times, I would use any and all negative news related to churches or religious people as proof that my belief was correct. They're all hypocrites, I tell myself. They aren't trustworthy, blah, blah, blah. During my travels abroad, I would tour these ancient grand cathedrals, and while I would marvel at their architectural beauty, at the same time, I was disgusted by the corruption that existed between the church and state when these cathedrals were built. I'd envision the poor people giving money they didn't have to the church in order to buy a blessing, offended that blessings were a profit center for the church. Do I now believe everyone who attends church is bad? No, of course not. There are millions of wonderful people who attend church regularly. Do I believe all churches are bad? No, again, of course not. There are thousands of churches who do good work in the world. But I recognize my bias, and because I recognize it, I can shift my perspective and make a fair choice or draw a more fair conclusion when the topic involves organized religion. There's also what's known as framing effects, and that is how a choice is presented. Is it presented as a potential gain or a potential loss? And that can really influence what we decide. Our perception of the frame and our perspective and how we interpret the stakes both play a role in our decision. So how can we make better decisions? Now that we know how perception and perspective work, how can we use this knowledge to make better choices? Well, the first thing you do is you notice your first impressions. Before you react, take a moment to notice your initial feelings and thoughts. Are you jumping to conclusions? Are your emotions coloring your perception? Try this. Jot down your first reaction to a situation. This can help you become more aware of your perceptions. Second, step back and broaden your view. After you've noticed your initial reaction, try to see the big picture. Ask yourself, how might someone else see this? What are the possible consequences of my decision? Am I missing anything important? Third, seek out different perspectives. Talk to people with different backgrounds and viewpoints. This can help you see things you might have missed and can help you make more informed decisions. Fourth, slow down. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to make snap judgments, but taking a little extra time to think things through can lead to much better outcomes. Fifth and last, reflect and learn. After you've made a decision, take a moment to reflect. How did your perceptions and perspectives influence the outcome? And the best question is, what can I learn for next time? Here's some real-life stories. We all know the glass of water. You see a glass of water on the table at the halfway mark. That's your perception. How you interpret it, whether it's half full or half empty, that's your perspective. And then there's the rain. Both the farmer and the bride can see that the water falling from the sky is rain. From the farmer's perspective, it's wonderful as his crops need rain. But from the bride's perspective, it's disastrous because the rain ruins her wedding day. And then there are high-pressure moments. Imagine you're a pilot in training and things get intense. Your initial perception might be panic, but if you step back and remember why you're training, your perspective helps you stay calm and make a better choice. And then there's the workplace feedback I spoke of earlier. You get some tough feedback at work. At first, you feel hurt, which is your perception. But if you consider your manager's perspective, and again, assuming your boss isn't a big butthole, you might see it as a chance to grow and improve. So let's wrap this up so you can get on with making better decisions. Think of perception and perspective as being two sides of the same coin. Both sides shape how we see the world and the choices we make. Perception is your brain's first take on things, while perspective is the bigger lens that helps you step back and see the whole picture. By becoming more aware of your perceptions and actively seeking out different perspectives, you can make wiser and kinder and more effective decisions, which will more likely benefit everyone involved. So the next time you're faced with a tough choice, take a deep breath, notice your first impressions, and try to see things from a new angle. You might be surprised how much it changes the outcome, how much better you feel about the path you choose. I'm wishing you peace and plenty of awareness of the peas in your pod. Until next time, this is Amy, your gray and aware girlfriend. Hey, it's Amy. Did you know that what we tell ourselves about ourselves impacts every decision we make? Every decision. So if you're feeling stuck in any aspect of your life, RTT can help. Want to know more? Go to amyblairlawson.com or click on the calendar link in the show notes to schedule your complimentary 30-minute consultation. Oh, one last thing. I can't forget the legal stuff. You know what I'm talking about. The language a lawyers write that I have to read to you. Well, here it goes. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While I am a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a certified divorce financial analyst, and a licensed investment advisor, this podcast is not intended as a substitute for a private session or a consultation. Got it? All right. Until next time, wishing you peace and plenty of all good things.